I've never told this story before. Not to my friends, not to my family, not even to the person who was with me the night it happened. But after what I saw and what I heard, I can't hold it in anymore. This happened about a year ago when I was living with my cousin, Danny Atwell. We shared a small apartment while saving for college. The place wasn't great, thin walls, flickering lights, but rent was cheap, and we didn't have many options at the time. The strange part didn't begin immediately. It started after someone moved into the apartment directly across from us. We never saw them clearly, just shadows slipping behind the door, footsteps at odd hours, and that door always slightly open, like someone watched us through the crack. For a month, we ignored it, pretending it was nothing. But one night the knocks started, slow, deliberate, and that was when everything shifted into something we couldn't explain. It was around 3:07 a.m. when I woke to a slow, dragging sound outside my room. Not footsteps, more like someone dragging their palm across the wall. The sound passed my door and stopped outside Daniel's room. Then came 3 gentle knocks. Knock, knock, knock. I froze. Seconds later, Daniel whispered, "Bro, are you awake?" I whispered back, "Yeah." "Don't open it." Then a voice crawled under the door. "I need help." It wasn't a normal voice. It wasn't scared or crying. It sounded flat, calm, intentional, like someone imitating a human. Daniel and I didn't move. We just listened, holding our breath until the sound faded. The hallway was empty again. We didn't sleep that night. Every creak, every shadow felt alive. We both knew something was there, just waiting, watching, testing us. And that was only the beginning of what the apartment had in store. The next morning, we checked the hallway. The door across from us, the one always slightly open, was now wide open. Inside was empty. No furniture, no bags, no signs anyone lived there. Only dust and handprints on the walls. The landlord shrugged it off, claiming no one rented it. He suggested squatters, but we knew what we heard. That night, we pushed our couch against the door, just in case. Fear had started to seep into every corner. Around 3 a.m., I woke again, this time to scratching on the floor. Something was crawling. My heart raced. I peeked into the hallway and froze. A figure lay flat in front of our door, arms stretched out, head sideways, staring into the crack. Its fingers pressed flat against the wood, and it whispered, "Are you awake?" I stepped back, covering my mouth. Then its neck twisted unnaturally, and it looked straight at me, eyes pitch black, and a smile too wide to be human. I slammed the door shut and clutched the handle, heart hammering. It didn't knock or move. It just whispered through the crack, "I know you saw me." We stayed frozen until dawn. The apartment across the hall, the one always empty, seemed almost alive. That night, every sound, pipes groaning, walls creaking, felt deliberate. It was waiting, watching, testing our fear. And we realized leaving this apartment wouldn't be simple. Whatever it was, it had plans for us. After that night, Daniel and I agreed to leave. We packed quietly, planning to move out at sunrise. But the apartment had other plans. Around midnight, the scratching returned, this time from inside the empty apartment across the hall. It grew louder, faster, like claws tearing the floor. Then dragging sounds approached slowly, heavily, toward our door. We locked every door, pressed backs against the wall, and waited, frozen in terror. At 2:59 a.m., silence fell. Not a creak, not a whisper, nothing. I whispered, "Maybe it left." Daniel shook his head. "No, it's waiting." We sat silently. At exactly 3 a.m., the doorknob began to turn, slowly, deliberately, back and forth, like it was testing the door's strength. A whisper followed. "Open it." Just for a second, fear rooted us in place. Then it shouted angrily, "Let me in." The door shook violently. Something slammed against it. Then everything stopped. A tense silence filled the hallway. Then, faint but chilling, came a laugh. Not loud, not hysterical, just calm, happy, knowing. I pressed against the wall, trying not to breathe. At dawn, we stayed frozen, unsure if moving would summon it again. Later, around 6:30 a.m., we heard footsteps inside our apartment. Moving slowly down the hallway toward Daniel's room, my blood ran cold. This nightmare wasn't finished, and neither were the doors. I ran toward Daniel's room, screaming his name. Before I reached the door, I heard him scream. It wasn't human. I burst in and saw him being dragged under his bed, nails scraping, arms flailing, eyes wide with terror. I grabbed him, pulling with everything I had, but the force was too strong. His last words, "Don't let it take me." And then he was gone, swallowed into darkness. Only empty floor remained. I lifted the mattress, flipped the bed frame, tore the floor apart. Nothing. Danielle had vanished. Panic consumed me. I ran to the hallway, screaming for help. Empty. Every apartment closed, every window shut. The building itself felt alive, watching, listening. Then my gaze fell on the opposite apartment. The door was closed again. Dust on the floor spelled 5 words. "You opened the wrong door." My stomach twisted with dread. I fled the building, running until my lungs burned. Sunlight didn't comfort me. The shadows still felt alive, stretched, watching. I didn't look back, but I could feel it. Something had followed. My mind replayed every detail. The figure, the whispers, Danielle screaming. I knew the apartment wasn't done. I never found him. No one believed me, but I knew the truth. And deep down, I feared I'd hear that knock again. A week later, in my new apartment, I tried to sleep. Around 3 a.m., I heard it. 3 slow, deliberate knocks on my bedroom door. Knock, knock, knock. A whisper followed. "I found you." My heart stopped. It wasn't human. The fear from that night returned tenfold. I gripped the blanket, too terrified to move. The darkness in the room seemed thicker, heavier, and in that moment, I realized running never mattered. It knew where I was. I didn't move. The knocking stopped for a moment, replaced by a soft, dragging sound, like something slithering across the floor. I strained to hear. A low whisper brushed through the crack. "Don't hide." My room felt smaller, the walls closing in. I pressed myself against the far corner, listening to every creak, every shadow, every breath I could hear. The night stretched endlessly, and I knew it wouldn't leave until it was satisfied. The next morning, I checked my room. Nothing appeared out of place, except the faintest muddy prints near the window. I hadn't stepped outside. The prints were long and thin, almost claw-shaped. My stomach churned. It had been inside, watching me while I slept. I couldn't call anyone. No one would believe me. The apartment across the hall from my old place wasn't empty. Whatever that thing was, it had followed me, and it wasn't done yet. Sleep didn't come that night. Around 3 a.m., I heard the dragging again, closer this time. I held my breath, clutching my phone, trembling. A shadow passed under the door, long and thin. The whisper came again, low, deliberate. I remember everything. I froze. Every memory of Danielle, of the apartment, of the black-eyed figure returned at once. The sound was patient, taunting. I realized it didn't just follow. Emeti studied me, waiting for my mistake. The dragging stopped suddenly. Silence swallowed the room. Then came faint scratches on the wall near my bed. Slow, intentional, like someone testing the surface. I didn't look. I couldn't. My hands shook, my heart pounded, and my mind raced. It knew fear. It thrived on it. Every breath I took seemed loud, heavy, audible. And then a whisper curled through the room. You can't escape. You never left the apartment. I bolted upright in bed. Sweat drenched me. The door creaked slowly, as if pushed by a weight far heavier than human. I froze. My phone's screen illuminated the room, but only barely. Shadows stretched toward me like black ink. The whisper came again, closer. You left him behind. My stomach sank. Daniel's screams, the dragging, the empty floret, all returned. The apartment wasn't just memories anymore. It was alive, and it was here. Morning brought no comfort. Every corner, every shadow in my apartment felt wrong. Muddy prints trailed from the window to my bed. On my pillow, a leaf fresh from the forest near where Rayanne died smelled of pine and decay. I wanted to leave, but the hallway outside my door felt different, like a trap. And then I saw words carved faintly into the leaf. Stop running. My knees buckled. Whatever this was, it didn't need doors to reach me. The weight of fear pressed down. I backed into a corner, clutching the leaf. The room seemed to breathe, the shadows stretching longer. I realized running was pointless. Every step outside, every moment alone, brought it closer. It knew my routines, my fears, my memories. And tonight, like every night, at exactly 3 a.m., I knew it would come again. Not for Danielle, not for the apartment, but for me. That night, 3 a.m. arrived with the familiar knocking. Slow, patient, 3 sharp knocks. Knock, knock, knock. My heart raced as I held my breath. The whisper followed, closer than before. I see you. The shadows in my room stretched unnaturally, crawling toward me across the walls. I pressed myself into a corner, frozen. No light, no sound except my own trembling. It didn't want me to move. A cold wind brushed my neck. My blanket shifted, though the windows were closed. I dared to peek at the door. The handle twitched, back and forth, testing. Then came a soft, dragging sound from beneath the floorboards. Something was moving under my feet, patient, deliberate. A whisper curled into my ear. You can't hide. My blood ran cold. I realized this wasn't just a presence. It was intelligent, knowing, and hunting. The next morning, I inspected the floor. Nothing visible, but thin, elongated scratches marred the wood, almost claw-like. I backed away, shaking. I couldn't leave, couldn't explain, and couldn't sleep. Every corner of my apartment felt watched. Even light didn't protect me. I knew it waited in the shadows, breathing with the walls, slipping through cracks, remembering every fear I had. It was patient, too patient. Sleepless nights became routine. Every day felt longer. Every creak, every groan of the building seemed deliberate. And every night, around 3 a.m., the knocking returned. I no longer counted the seconds. I only listened. Sometimes it whispered names I knew. Sometimes it dragged something heavy across the floor. Once, it laughed softly, almost fondly. I realized then it didn't just want to scare me, it wanted control. One night, I tried to ignore it. I stayed awake, lights blazing, doors locked, heart racing. At 3:01 a.m., a shadow slipped along the ceiling. Thin, long, crawling like spilled ink. I could hear the whisper, "You cannot escape what you brought here." My mind raced. It knew about Danielle, about the apartment, about me. I had thought moving would protect me. But now I understood. Running was meaningless. The dragging grew louder. I could feel vibrations through the floor. My phone illuminated the room, but only dimly. The shadow moved with intent, circling the corners, stretching along the walls, following me wherever I went. The whisper came again. "You left him behind." My knees buckled. Daniel's screams returned in my mind. I realized the apartment, the shadows, the creature, it wasn't just a place. It was a predator with memory. I tried to leave, grabbed my keys, ready to flee. But the hallway outside my door looked different, wrong, unreal. Shadows were too long, bending unnaturally. The whisper followed me. "There is no escape." The door handle rattled violently, and I realized this wasn't physical. Whatever it was, it could reach me anywhere. My apartment wasn't safe. My street wasn't safe. My fear alone made me visible to it. The nights became unbearable. At exactly 3 a.m., knocking, whispers, dragging, scratches. I rarely slept, barely ate. My friends noticed my pallor, my trembling hands. I didn't tell them. Who would believe this? I began to see shadowy figures moving in reflections, fleeting glimpses behind windows, in mirrors, stretching too long, too thin. Every shadow reminded me of that night, of Danielle, of the apartment. And I knew it was patient. Last night, I heard the familiar knock. 3 slow, deliberate taps. Knock, 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 then a whisper. Low, deliberate. It's time. The shadows stretched across the walls, crawling toward me like living ink. I pressed myself against the far corner, too terrified to move. I realized running never mattered. It remembers, it follows, it waits. And tonight, it won't leave without me. Whatever this is, it's finally ready. I couldn't breathe. The shadows stretched, twisted, crawling along the walls toward me. The whisper came again, sharper this time. "Come with me." I wanted to run, but my feet were frozen. The air felt thicker, heavier, pressing down on me. My heart pounded so loud it felt like the only sound in the universe. And then, from beneath the floor, a dragging sound began, slow and heavy, like something massive was surfacing. I screamed, but no sound escaped. My phone fell from my hands, screen shattered. The dragging stopped. Silence. Then came a low, guttural laugh that vibrated through the walls. Shadows pooled on the floor, twisting into a shape taller than any human. I realized it didn't just want to scare me, it wanted me. The walls themselves seemed alive, closing in, and I could feel its presence in every corner, in every breath. I scrambled backward, pressed against the far wall. The figure grew closer, stretching impossibly thin, crawling silently yet faster than thought. A whisper hissed, "You can't leave." My mind screamed. Daniel's face flashed before me. Memories of the first night, the dragging, the knocks, they were all connected. I understood then, leaving never mattered. It was patient, it remembered everything, and it had chosen tonight to finish. The figure reached the edge of the shadows nearest me. My vision blurred, chest tight, legs trembling. The whisper turned cold. "I found you." A hand thin, elongated, impossibly pale reached from the darkness. I wanted to run, but my body refused. The walls seemed to bend, the ceiling stretched. The shadows licked at my skin. The whispers became voices, echoing Daniel's last words. echoing my own fear. I could no longer distinguish reality. Shadows moved independently of light. The floorboards groaned under invisible weight. The hand stretched closer, almost touching me. And then I realized the whispers weren't just behind me, they were inside me. Memories I didn't share, fears I never voiced, regrets I hid, they all echoed back in its voice. It wasn't only outside, it was in my mind, consuming me slowly, testing how far I could scream without being heard. The room dissolved into darkness. I felt myself lifted, suspended, weightless, yet pulled downward. The whispers surrounded me, repeating Daniel's screams, my own, distorted and endless. Shapes slithered along the walls, pulling at my feet, climbing my legs. I realized with terror that running, screaming, hiding it never mattered. I was inside its world now, and it remembered everything I had done, everything I feared. I closed my eyes, praying, hoping it would vanish if I didn't see it. The whispers stopped for a moment, replaced by a soft, sinister chuckle. Then I felt it cold, wet, crawling across my arms, up my shoulders. I couldn't move. My skin felt numb but burning. The shadows pooled, twisted into shapes I couldn't describe. The whisper came again, closer than my ear. Now, it's your turn. My throat closed. I couldn't scream. Time lost meaning. I couldn't tell night from day. The whisper spoke constantly. I remember, I wait, I take. I felt invisible hands push me toward a dark corner where shadows pooled like water. A voice, Daniel's voice, whispered through mine. Don't fight it. I understood then. It wasn't killing us randomly. It was choosing, testing, claiming. I struggled, but the room itself resisted, walls stretching and bending, keeping me trapped. Finally, the figure receded slightly. The whispers softened. I dared to open my eyes. Everything looked normal, yet empty. The shadows lingered, bending unnaturally, waiting. I was alone, yet I felt watched, followed, remembered. My legs carried me to the window, to the street, but I knew I was never leaving. It had marked me, the apartment, the building, the shadows, they were mine now. The fear wasn't gone, it was permanent. And now, a week later, I write this to warn anyone who will listen. At exactly 3 a.m., it comes, knocks, whispers, shadows crawling. It remembers, it waits, and one day it will find you, too. I don't know how much time I have before it comes for me again. All I know is this: whatever it is patient, it is intelligent, it is endless, and it doesn't forgive. And the last thing you'll hear before it takes you will be your own name.